All right, howdy folks. Today I want to talk about paint. Now, I featured this figure in a different video, and the paint job is, it's fair. It's not bad. It's not, it's not professional, but, it gets the job done. Now, I used apple barrel paint. I see that these paints, they're not really featured too much online. I do know that a lot of people use them for crafts and all that, and they are classified as craft paint, whatever that means exactly. I'm not sure. But I wanted to compare them a little bit to something a little bit more common, like Vallejo. These are considered model paint. And I wouldn't be able to tell you the actual chemical differences or physical differences between the paint. But I can say that as an owner of the entire Apple Barrel matte range, I literally have all of their colors. These can very much be used for miniatures. The only thing that I can say that you're really going to have to watch out for is the finish. So you can tell by the way this model reflects in the light that it has a gloss finish. Now, it wasn't meant to have a gloss finish. This is just as a result of the way I applied the acrylic finisher. I started out light, but then I think I got too heavy, and that's why it shines. But you're definitely going to need, if you want to go super inexpensive, something like this, the Mod Podge matte, you do have to be careful with this because if you don't put it on right, it can bubble up on you, and then you'll have little noticeable bubbles in your finish, which you don't want. But if you wanted to just find something cheap and easy, you can get this. I got this from the Dollar Tree. And you just apply it with a paintbrush. You could also use something like this. This will have a better looking finish because it's sprayed on and there's not any chance of it bubbling up if you do it right. So with something like Apple Barrel, it seems like the coverage is going to be pretty much fine with every color. But there seems to not be any kind of like enamel or something in this paint compared to something like Vallejo or especially Citadel paint. Now, I don't have any Citadel paint. All my Citadel paint has dried up by now, and I just use them to put my miniatures on to paint them, just like the Citadel book says. But the Citadel paints, I tested them, and if you try to scratch them, they're a lot tougher than Apple Barrel. So you'll have to be careful when applying the paint to not scratch it and not mess your paint job up. But when you're done, you'll also have to be careful because you're going to have to finish it with something. At the very least, something like this, if you don't care too much about the look, or you can go a little bit more expensive and get a can finish. What that's going to do is it's going to seal your paint and it's not going to scratch off as easily. Which overall I think is still going to be a cheaper solution if you don't want to spend, possibly hundreds of dollars getting tons of paint from Citadel and Vallejo, or Army Painter. So Apple Barrel has a wide range of colors. What they do lack a little bit are earth tones, like a lot of greens and browns that are used a lot in miniature painting. But that said, they have a wide array of reds, blues, purples, oranges, yellows. I do like their greens a lot. There are a fair amount of greens. Maybe I'll go over each color category in a different video. And what I did was I took a brush and I brushed on the paint onto the top, and then I put some Mod Podge matte finish on the top. That way I can't easily scratch it off. What this is going to do is it's going to give you a dried preview of the color. What's important about that is someone who gets all this paint, and they feel like doing this, and that works if you have a smaller array of colors, because you kind of get used to which color's which. But if you have a wide array of colors like me, setting them up like this obviously is going to help you determine which color's which. But if you have colors that are close to each other, or colors that you're not sure the exact difference of, putting paint on the top is going to help you determine the differences. And the important part about that is that it's dried, so you know what it's going to look like on the model already. So you can kind of tell the differences. You know, this is a dark green, this is a bright green. And you might think, well, I need a dark green or I need a bright green. And so you pick this one or you pick that one. But then you put it on the model and it looks like this. Now it's pretty accurate, right? But look at the bottle and look at the finish. The finish is actually darker, it seems. And this green is a little bit more saturated than what you can see through the bottle. So doing this is a little bit tedious, especially if you're like me and you want it to be as circular as possible. But what this is going to help you with is you can just have a box and look down at it and you can see all your colors. So if you're going to get Apple Barrel paint, or really just any paint, I do recommend doing something like this. Also, Apple Barrel also has a decent array of metallic paint. Now I got 3 basic ones. I got gold, bronze, and silver, and I guess I should have put some paint on the top. But I kind of know what these finish like, but I really should, especially once I start getting their other metallic colors. I'm going to want to have those painted on the top as well. So also, Apple Barrel has 8 fluid ounce bottles. And for the 8 fluid ounce, the 8 ounce bottles, I only have black. And that's because I use black as a primer usually. But they also have, I don't think they have their entire range in 8 ounce bottles, at least not at the store. But you can get a lot of their colors, their matte colors, in the 8 ounce bottle if you find yourself using a lot of it. And this is like 3 something. These, at least a couple of years ago, they were 50 cents each. Now they're about 54, which is still pretty good. And these are I forget what they are, like $2, $3, $4 per pot. And don't get me wrong, these are great. Some of these though are kind of watery, like this red and this yellow are kind of thin, I remember, but I haven't used them in a while. One final thing about Apple Barrel is that they are kind of lacking in flush tone. They do have light peachy colors, but when you compare it to pre-mixed flush tone colors, they're not quite right. So you're going to have to mix something. Like they have Sunkissed Peach. They have Sunkissed Peach and Orange Sherbet, which are fairly decent flesh tones. But the problem is that when you put them on, they're not quite right. And there's no variety in the flesh tone. So you're going to have to either get flesh tones somewhere else, or I've seen people mix flesh tones just by using other Apple Barrel colors. So that's my review of Apple Barrel paints overall. I definitely recommend them if you're kind of like me and you don't want to spend a lot of money on very little supplies. I thought I had all the matte colors, but I went back to the store and I realized that I only had about half of them. And truth be told, there's some colors that are so close that you might as well just not even get them, because the difference in shade is almost unnoticeable. So, but I got them anyway just because I wanted to have all of them, collect them all, right? But I spent about $30, and so maybe you could probably get all of their colors for, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 bucks, depending on which colors you want. And you can have pretty much all the colors you'll ever need, minus a couple, for your miniature painting. Just like this guy right here.